Good evening. It's 10 p.m. and welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind for the full-time reaction show of Red Star Belgrade versus Celtic. It has finished 1 each. Paul John Dykes will be joining me presently. He's just, I'm sure he's getting some adulation on the stage at Bad, but he will join when he can. And we'll try and break down that performance tonight. In terms of result, keen to hear what you have to say in the comments. I can see some of the reaction coming in already. Would you consider that a good away draw or a good away point in Europe, or would you consider that, given the manner of some of the chances that we didn't take, maybe 2 points dropped? In terms of player performance, who stood out for you tonight? I think there's certainly a few contenders from a defensive standpoint. Who was maybe your man of the match? And what did you think maybe of some of the players that we did see tonight? Ian Acsom coming in, making a positive contribution. Again, Balikwisha coming in, maybe under difficult circumstances. Did we see much from him? How about the players who were on from the start? Tunekti. And the players that we spoke about at halftime who are maybe struggling a little bit, Rio Hatate, Callum McGregor, Benjamin Egrin, very involved in that second half. What did you make of his performance? Then yet again, and one player that we did praise, Kasper Schmeichel, I think had some pivotal moments in a positive sense in that game, but some of the points that were scrutinised, distribution out from the back, positioning, decision making, does the lens fall on him for the goal, or do you see that maybe as a collective failure within the defence? Let's take a look at some of your immediate reaction comments while we wait for Paul John. So bring in Martin T. First of all, said, I'm going to try and be positive. It's not a defeat away from home in Europe. That's about as positive as I can be. I think that there's definitely a perspective that was a positive performance. We'll bring in a few more comments. We'll try and keep it as balanced as possible. Brendan McCarthy, welcome to the channel. Hail, boys. Pleased with that performance. Players fought for everything. I thought there were some excellent performances, some good battling performances. I'm going to talk about one just now. On a Permo comes up. Donovan was good. I would say that Donovan was probably my pick for man of the match. I think given the circumstances that he's been brought in, I thought he was solid throughout. I thought you could also give it potentially Liam Scales, and on the basis of the majority of the second half, Carter Vickers would have been in for a shout as well. Some amazing last-ditch tackles. But did they have a part to play in the equalising goal for Red Star? Did they switch off and allow the Arnautovic to come in, who was, to be fair, a danger man all night? River C comes in to say, absolutely pathetic game. I'm not necessarily sure I share that view, but I understand that there were frustrations in certain elements of the performance. And, we've spoken about some individual performances as well. I think Rio Hatate came under a lot of scrutiny at half-time. Did he do enough to kind of redeem himself in the second half? I'm not sure. I still don't think we saw the influential Rio Hatate that we know is there, but we're not seeing often enough these days. Patrick Heaney comes in and says, we should be beating them. They are Hearts to Kairat St Johnstone level. Well, I mean, the one counterpoint I would say to that is that even though we were the away team, I felt as though we dominated large parts of the game overall. I think we were hanging on a little bit at the end. They seemed to play the best football towards the end of the game, and possibly we were flagging at that point. But I think it was a relatively even game. Let's see what else we've got. Kevin Wiseman comes in. Kell is a difference maker. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Kelechi Iheanacho. So interesting to see Daisen Maeda getting hooked at half time. No indication it was an injury yet. We'll keep an eye out for any news on that. I didn't think he was massively effective in the first half. Made some good runs, but as was pointed out in the comments at half time, found himself offside quite a lot. And actually, it wasn't necessarily his runs that were causing him to be offside. It was actually getting back into position that I noticed on a couple of occasions. Fitness, mentality, maybe getting frustrated with the game was playing. Who knows? So one to be keeping an eye out. Martin T comes in to say, if we were in the Champions League, I'd be scared. Well, I mean, the problem is that we're not. Would the additions that we have now, would they have got us through Kairat? But possibly. Would it be enough to make a decent go of it in the Champions League proper? That's up for debate, right? I'm not 100% sure. Estepona boy, you come in to say Casper needs to be replaced, in your opinion. It was very much a Jekyll and Hyde performance from Kasper Schmeichel, I felt, tonight. He had that magnificent save in the first half where he tips the ball onto the bar. And he has another decent save in the second half when he's 1-on-1 with the Red Star attacker. But then you have the playing it out under no real pressure to a Red Star player. Was his judgment in question at both the goal we lost and then one where he kind of flaps at the ball coming over the top, which was eventually cleared. I think, I think his performance for me was okay. I think if we'd lost the game, there'd be maybe more scrutiny on his particular performance. Certainly, I think decision making is something that he's been caught with on a few occasions. So definitely keen to hear some of the viewpoints on his performance over the course of the game. Gerald Mannion, you come in to say massive opportunity missed tonight. You're commenting on X. Welcome to the show. We do go across multiple platforms. I think that's the question, right? Is it did we do enough in people's minds to win that game? We did have a few chances. There was the early one in the second half from Nguyen, beautifully picked out by Kieran Tierney, but he kind of almost tries to side foot it or place it, maybe trying to be too cute and with the shot, and it's ultimately an easy save for what was actually a very good Red Star goalkeeping performance from Mateus. It was a great goal, showing real good composure from Ian Acsom, again assisted by a brilliant weighted run and patient run and weighted ball from Nygren. But then he finds himself 1-on-1 with the keeper, both pre and post that particular chance. So if he takes all three of his chances, we're 3 goals up. So it would have been it's maybe an element of frustration around those chances. But at the same time, I think it's early in his tenure, and it looks as though he is going to be a decent acquisition for us. Ewan Boy Martin, end of the day, a draw is okay. I think given it's away from home, it's the first game in the Europa League. I think the team, as we know, is not necessarily firing on all cylinders yet. As we said in the pre-match, we don't have that complete performance to kind of hang our hat on yet. What we have seen is positive performances from Tunekti up to tonight. I actually thought he did his best work tonight right before he got taken off by Brendan Rodgers, where he takes on his man, gets to the byline and almost makes something happen. And I would have liked to have seen more of that from him tonight, but we've seen positive signs from him. But we've not seen collectively a very fluid, free-flowing, complete performance. That said, I think we're moving in the right direction. Rob Lilly, welcome to the channel. Good competitive game, if a tad nervy at times. Could have been better, could have been worse. Yeah, it's kind of the way I view it. I think at the end we were hanging on a little bit. Again, real emphasis on how well I thought the defence handled some of the chances and some of the pressure we were under. I really picked out Colby Donovan. I thought to go back to one of the things I said in the pre-match when I was talking to Paul John, I wanted Colby Donovan not just to do his fundamentals well tonight. I wanted him to show no fear when he was playing and still make those kind of ambitious forward-going runs, really try and feed the attacking side of the play. And I thought he did that tonight. I thought it was a really, really mature performance in Europe from the youngster. So fair play to Colby Donovan. Green Lichty, you command better second half. I'll assume that is Casper was poor at times. You're the same as me. My typing when I'm on the comments is always miss out a letter. Barry Flaherty comes in to say Schmeichel is a bomb scare. Yeah, a lot of scrutiny on Schmeichel, particularly in that second half. I wonder if he'd have got the same scrutiny if he had the same sort of performance that he had in the first half. But definitely nervy at times under pressure. So could be cause for concern. Derek A, you're coming in on X, so welcome to the channel. Great result in second half, an improvement all round. I think in parts there was. I think Red Star did go up a gear. I think towards the latter part of the half, and maybe we started to toil a little bit. But at the same time, we still looked as though we could have made something happen on the counter. There was that moment where Nygren gets taken down with what you could only label a professional foul by the Red Star player. I personally thought he held on to it a little too long. I'd like to have seen him move it a little quicker because we had men on the overlap. But you saw the opportunity start to dry up towards the end. And actually, I think it got to a point towards the end of the game where I'd probably have taken a draw. I think. Pigeon M, this is interesting. When you've come in and said, concede a goal after a CCV mistake again. Now, I want to be really balanced on this one. I thought Carter Vickers showed some of the best qualities that we've come to expect from him in that second half. I felt as though some last-ditch tackles, some great time tackles as well. I thought it was a really commanding performance. But my personal opinion of the goal that we conceded, and please 100% feel free to disagree with us in the comments. I felt that Casper made, you can maybe say, a questionable decision to try and go out and make himself big when the Red Star player was on the touchline. He managed to get the ball past Casper, but it looks to me as though Carter Vickers loses his man. He loses Arnautovic. Arnautovic just gets the wrong side of him and manages to put it in. Look, Arnautovic is a great player, great pedigree. So maybe we're not giving him enough credit. But yeah, maybe do we need to examine Carter Vickers? Did he just switch off in that moment? But overall, I thought it was a reason why we didn't necessarily concede more tonight. So I'm prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. Andy, your comment in X as well. Welcome to the channel. I like this point. Happy enough with the point. We need to address our defending at corners. Yeah, I think crosses and corners. Actually, I found that sometimes we're not dealing with them quite as well as we should. Actually, I think that's maybe one area that Kasper Schmeichel's not is effective at. I think he's very, very good on one-to-one situations. I think he's a good shot stopper. I'm not sure he's quite as good coming for cross balls or in the air, and again maybe points to the decision making. Ronan Gray, you come in to say man of the match for me is Donovan, was solid. I would echo that. I thought it was an excellent performance. And just to hear what people thought of Kieran Tierney's performance actually on the other side. I thought he was relatively solid, if unspectacular, but I thought he did. It was responsible for one of the best chances in the game when he got managed to overlap with Tonekte and play the ball into Nygren. And initially I thought he'd fluffed the chance, but actually it was a very, very good pack out. Could he maybe have gone for one of the more advanced players? We'll never know. I mean, we wouldn't even be talking about it if Nygren had put that one and burst the net. So it's one of those sliding doors moments, maybe. Ewan Boy Martin coming in again. Engels did nothing when he came on. Actually, a couple of people in the Acsom group chat were not too impressed with Engels' contribution. Do we have to allow for the fact that we're coming into a game which was, I think, quite end to end at times, and maybe just very, very difficult to get up to speed? What I would say, and this was just my observation. And sorry, guys, you're having to listen to me. Paul John's obviously getting multiple standing ovations on stage, as deserved. But or he's been lynched. Who knows? We thought if it was a win, he would get a standing ovation. We thought if we lost tonight, he'd get booed off the stage. So it could go either way with a draw. But one observation I made when Engels did come on, and I think it shifted Callum McGregor's position to a bit more advanced. I felt as though McGregor was more effective in an attacking sense. I don't think he had a great game tonight. I'll hang my hat on that. I still think he can be easily targeted when he plays the number 6 role, especially in Europe. But I thought we saw a more effective game for him for a very short period when Engels came on, because he moved into what I think is a more effective role. But that was just my observation there. David Boyle. Welcome to the show, mate. Midfield is a major issue. Nygren, the only one that's up to pace. Yeah, let's talk about Benji Nygren then. We pinpointed at half time that we don't see his best position as being on the wing. We've been told before we signed him, and as he was signed, that he could play out on the wing. I don't think when he's been out there he's looked effective, and Paul Johns and others have spoken to maybe a lack of pace, to be deployed as a winger. Where I do think he's effective, I think his use of the ball is quite good. I think he's got good ability with the ball at his feet. Reminds me a little bit, and this is not a like-for-like comparison because he's got a long way to go to have this level, but it reminds me of the Tom Rogic style of player. Somebody who can keep the ball close to his feet, can get past players and can open up defences, but doesn't have doesn't have to utilise that blistering pace that we would see of wingers and certain other players. So it could be that he's more in that mould where he can, he's just very, very difficult to dispossess, and actually he's got a good eye for a pass because he was very patient with the assist for Iheanacho. He looked for the right gap, he looked for the right timing. Some credit to Iheanacho for his composure as well, and he held his run very, very well. But it was a great pinpoint pass, almost a simple, just a straight, direct pass. And Iheanacho, not rushing the shot, just holding it, placing it, and giving us a goal that we hoped would give us a win. Obviously, we ended up with a draw. I'll bring this comment up just to show the different opinions. So 6079 Smith, W. Hatate, McGregor, Maeda and CCV poor. I would probably agree with 3 out of the 4 there. I think, as I said earlier, I think CCV kind of redeemed himself, even if he made a mistake at the goal, because I think he was the last line of defence, particularly in the second half with a few challenges. But I would probably agree with you. I think it wasn't the best games for Hatate, McGregor or Maeda for various reasons. David Dolan, you can man, Rio needs dropped. Young Donovan is really impressive. Okay, it's a tough one. We never like to kind of focus too much on individual performances, at least not going to excess. But we did pick out at halftime. I thought Rio Hatate. I used the word shocker. I thought it was having a really poor performance, certainly by his standards when he is on his game. Second half, he didn't get necessarily too long to redeem himself. But I don't think we saw the most effective Rio Hatate tonight. But that said, a lot of people are saying, did Engels make a substantive difference when he came on? I'm not 100% sure on that. I didn't see too much of note from Engels in a positive or a negative sense. But you're right. I think because of his level of involvement, and he puts himself about, he does get into positions where he gets a lot of the ball. When it doesn't go right, he's either dispossessed or the move breaks down at Rio Hatate. So he's always going to be under the microscope a little bit. However, tonight I thought it just wasn't a game where it worked for him. And it does make you wonder about that midfield 3. Is that the right partnership? Does it give the right balance? Does it offer the right protection to Callum McGregor, for example? Is Negrin finding himself stifled because he's alongside Hatate, or vice versa? So it's something the manager's going to have to figure out and work on. What we have spoken about is that there are options on the bench. We have, Paulo Bernardo, who seems we're unsure why he's not really getting too many minutes at the moment, because we have seen in the past that his use of the ball is very, very good. He can influence games. He can play more advanced, or he can play deeper. We've seen him doing it in Europe, so it's a little bit of a strange one with Paulo Bernardo. Luke McCowan, we know, he comes in, gives the most honest performance you would expect of anyone, and actually finds himself among the goals more often than not. So, is his energy maybe something that could be utilised in place of maybe Rio Hatate, or maybe he comes in and as part of a rotation. It'll be interesting to see, but I think it's a debate that we'll rage on. Some more comments here. Romano Bernardi, a draw is a good result away from home. I think it is. I think it is. Sometimes it's hard to assess it that way immediately after the game, when you've seen us come close on so many occasions with quite, what the old term, the gilt-edged chances. And I think Iheanacho was responsible for a few of those. We spoke with one in Negrin. We didn't create anywhere near enough in the first half for me, but the second half I thought we started well and created some chances. So sometimes after the game, when you've not taken advantage of them, it does feel a little bit like you maybe dropped 2 points. But I think we also saw elements of the Red Star quality towards the end of the game. So actually, maybe at that point, you're thinking, a draw and reflection might be a better result. Sometimes you maybe judge it after you play your next game. If we get 3 points at home, perhaps then we look at this one and say, do you know what? Maybe we're being a little harsh there, and thinking that wasn't a good draw. So it'll be interesting to see. What I would say is, I think there were elements of the performance there that I think if we take them into our next game, will hopefully lead to a positive result. Yeah, this is an interesting one I do want to discuss. So, Dylan, how do you pronounce it? It's Dylan Padraig Pierce. Apologies if I fluffed the pronunciation there, just a bit of a brain melt there. But we should have played, it's a good point, we should have played Iheanacho from the start. He looked more of a threat from the minutes he came on. Now, I saw actually even Chris Sutton mentioning this and a few others, that he looked much more of a focal point in the attack. And, we'll go back to the sometimes the criticism we had of Aramida. We know that Dyson Maeda is more of a player who gets in behind, uses his pace, uses his high press. I think Iheanacho, for me, looks a much more comfortable fit for the system that Brendan plays. He looks much more like a pivot point. There was a moment that I don't know if anyone else noticed, but he came back. He came deep at one point during the second half there, passed the ball, laid the ball off, but immediately turned and absolutely galloped straight towards the opposition box. And he went at pace, actually. So, he's obviously been working on his fitness. And he was calling for the ball as well. He was calling for the quick distribution of the ball. Now, we didn't really take advantage of it. But I think that was a criticism that we sometimes levelled at Adamida, that he would come back, he would sometimes act as that kind of layoff point, but he just wouldn't get back into the position where you needed him, and ultimately the move break down. So I think maybe Iheanacho could work out to be quite a good fit for the system that the manager plays, and indeed the manager itself. So hopefully we'll see more minutes from him. He'll build up his fitness, he'll build up his sharpness, and I think it certainly looks like a very good option. A question is, where does that leave players like Johnny Kenny on a new deal? Where does it leave Shin Yamada, not even in the European squad? Who takes the number one berth when they are both sharp and fit? Is it Dyson Maeda, or is it Iheanacho, or do we have a plan A and plan B? So these are things that we can discuss as we go through the campaign. Jazz M, you command too many wrong decisions from final pass to Casper being nuts. I always get a little bit nervous when we start trying to play football around our own box. Casper, I think his short distribution is okay if he's not under pressure. We've seen a couple of shaky moments from him. In fairness, we saw a couple of shaky moments from Sinisalo at the weekend when under pressure. Part of my preference, if you like, is to see defenders defend first and foremost and get it to the guys who can make those passes kind of risk free. I don't like to see too many passes going across our own 6-yard line, for example. And I don't like to see our keeper under pressure. So yeah, we'd like to see maybe a little bit quicker, less of the football and around our box, as it were. Guest 5, you come in. Awful performance, escaped with a point. Well, it's all about opinions. There were certainly a couple of chances. I mean, they've hit the woodwork. They've tested the goalkeeper. They've had a couple of side netting shots, and they did look threatening at times. So yeah, maybe actually on reflection, we didn't really take advantage of the early possession that we had and the amount of time we had on the ball. But opinions will vary. On a Permo back in, Hatate was slipping about like he was on ice. Yeah, there was one moment where he slipped and it led to quite a dangerous counter by Red Star, and I did fear the worst when that happened, but thankfully we managed to recover. But yeah, he a couple of occasions he just didn't seem to be quite as as comfortable on the pitch or in position or positional play. So yeah, I would absolutely have to agree. Let's see what we got. This interesting point from James. Welcome to the channel. Casper should never have left his line for the goal. It was the only time he moved more than 3 steps. Yeah, it was interesting. I was listening to Joe Hart on commentary, and he felt, or he certainly said he understood, Goalkeepers Union maybe, that he understood that Casper went out and tried to make himself big. But I was wondering, I think if your keeper does that, you're really relying then on your centre backs, and in this case, I think it was Carter Vickers, to make sure he's right side of the goalkeeper. But I can understand why there would be questions about Casper making the decision to go out. I don't think he's the quickest at getting out from this box. But I suppose the other side of the coin is if he makes the save there, we all praise his decision making. So easy for us to sit here and say he should or he shouldn't have done that. But I agree. I think it's a debate worth having as to where does blame lie. Maybe it's collective blame, right? If your goalkeeper's the last line, you need someone there to be backing him up. Itch 202 says midfield just no good enough. Is it the midfield? Is it one particular part of the midfield? Is it the system we're playing that doesn't allow for the midfielders to express themselves? I thought in the second half we started to see the best of Nygren, for example. He looked as though he was playing with a bit more freedom. He himself was actually making runs, from central midfield into the pockets of space around the box, and that was one of the reasons why we eventually ended up scoring. But yeah, I'm still unconvinced about the balance of the midfield. It just something doesn't seem to be gelling for me yet. So definitely work for the manager and the coaching staff to do on that. Yeah, John Brown, I'll bring in. We didn't feed Tinekti enough. I would agree with that to an extent. We spoke about the fact that he had two men on him tonight, which obviously is quite difficult for any player. And we know he's a player who likes to take on his man. What I did like right before he was hooked tonight is when he did take on his man, he made something happen. So I would probably put a little bit more onus on the player to say, do more of that, because he's clearly capable of beating a defender. And even if you get a corner out of it, or you get a deflection, or you do make a cross and you score a goal, I think it's worth the risk. You're the most advanced player, on that side of the park. So take the risk and go into it. Interesting. I'm just trying to work through the comments. There's a lot of comments coming in. Oh, it's 2,000 strong on the live stream. So thank you again very, very much for your support. We know it's late, and you're having to listen to me waffle on. I'll need to ask Paul John for a break for a few days. My voice will be going by tomorrow. But thank you again, everyone, for supporting the channel. Interested to see from your comments what people thought about Yang's performance tonight, and then eventually his replacement on the park, James Forrest. How do you think they did on that right hand side? Is a problem area that we've spoken about. Are we really suffering from not having brought in reinforcements and dedicated to that position? Is there anything we can do in the transfer market? Free transfers. I've seen a lot of reports about Raheem Sterling. Like many of you, I'm very sceptical about the realism of that. As much as we know the link is there with Brendan Rodgers, and he obviously needs football at the moment, I'm not sure that whether we would attract a player or whether we could afford a player or anything like that. But I think, is there anything in the transfer market and the free agent market that we can do? Or are people feeling comfortable? And I'm not even going to ask you and Boy, because I know he'll definitely back his man. But is it enough for, and we'll leave domestic football out, but is it enough for the rest of the European campaign, or should we look to try and get improvement in there? Chris Quinn, you come in to say we need a better number 6, Hatate and Nygren. Yeah, I would agree that we need. I would like to see someone who can play that pivot role. I don't know if they're at the club or not, but I would like to see us get somebody in there to alleviate some of the pressure on Callum McGregor, because we do need to manage him as because he's going to play a lot of games this season. Phil Sorrow, welcome to the channel. I was so impressed with Donovan. Yeah, I think a lot of people were. I thought he was excellent, very, very mature, and it's great to see. We worried whether he would be able to make the step up to European level, and I think he actually was very, very good. Let's see, Martin 8867, brilliant avatar there he is. Caesar, hail Caesar. I will take that. Thought we defended fairly well. Iheanacho looks hungry. I would agree with that. I thought he did. He was looking for the ball, certainly didn't hide. And Donovan looks at home. He is home, which I think is why. But that's the point, right? He's a homegrown player. He is the very embodiment of that, a young player coming through, taking his opportunity. And the biggest takeaway from me is that he played without any fear tonight, and he stood up well to the challenge. And I don't want to downplay the opposition today. A few people are saying, they're not necessarily on that level. I think they looked a decent outfit tonight, and given our issues throughout recruitment, and maybe not feeling as strong in certain areas as we are this season, that was probably a decent performance. But certainly individually from Donovan, well done indeed. Green Machine comes in, being far too sensible at this time of night. We have to bed in new players. We need to be patient. I think that's a very good point. But you are looking for your established players to come in. Ronan Gray, I was thinking about this earlier. Surely AJ needs to earn his spot back from Donovan. Well, look, I've said it throughout tonight. I think if you're on form, it's your jersey to lose. I don't think anyone would doubt Alistair Johnson's quality in that right back position. But, does that entitle him to walk straight into the team if Kobe Donovan keeps performing the way he is, or does he have to be patient? I certainly think there's a role to play for Donovan throughout this season, and I would love to see him continue progressing. What I would say is similar to the previous point there. If we treat, even though he's homegrown, he's coming through, if we treat Kobe Donovan as a new player, because he is very new to this level, I think we have to show the same degree of patience with him. So, I'm sure he'll have a few challenging performances throughout the season, as everybody in the team and the squad will. So, I think it's important that we do show a bit of patience with Donovan. But I think that the signs are very, very positive at the moment. We are getting to time, so I will wrap this up. We'll look for just some of your last comments here, if I can get them to come in. Paul McEwen comes in to say midfield isn't working. A blind man can see that. That's an indictment indeed. My name comes in to say Kobe Donovan reminds me of Aaron Hickey. That's an interesting point. Yeah, good comparison. And let me just Liam. Hatate has the hardest job in the team to take the ball and advance it into dangerous areas, but he's struggling and no one else is suited. I think that's a good observation. I think Hatate's form does get highlighted because he is that kind of creative outlet at the top end of the midfield, and because of that he asks for the ball quite a lot. He does get the ball, but it's the use of the ball isn't, I think, good enough at this moment in time, and I don't think we're seeing enough good performances to remove the focus from some of the poorer performances. So definitely work to be done for Rio Hatate. I know he's getting quite a lot of criticism tonight. Guys, we're going to call it a night there, otherwise I'll get into trouble because my wife will be banging the door in a minute. I just want to say a massive thank you for everyone for tuning in for the pre-match, the half-time, and of course the post-match. Again, apologies that Paul John can't be here. If you've ever been to an event at BAD or any other venue with Paul John, you know that whenever he tries to get off stage or he tries to get to the back area, he gets accosted by multiple people who want to pick his brains. And as we know, more than me, the man can talk. But listen, really appreciate all your support. Thanks for sticking with me. Thank you for all the comments there. Really, really great points. There was one starred comment here, which I'm going to bring in. I'm going to give the big man the last word, which is Ewan Boy Martin. Always supports the channel consistently and a top guy. Been a huge promoter and supporter of Acsom. So thank you, Ewan Boy. And Chris, you're doing brilliant. Actually, I hadn't even read the comment when I brought it up there. So thank you. That's a nice one for me to end on. I'll boost my ego. But thank you indeed to everybody that tuned in. We will be back tomorrow at 12:30. Paul John will be there with, I'm assuming, JP Mason as normal, and they'll do everything they can to break down the game. So please join us then at 12:30, and thank you again for supporting a Celtic Mind. Hail, hail.